Howdy and welcome in. I'm super excited about being with you today. To all of my new subscribers, thank you for making me feel so popular. There's been a flood of new subscribers over the last few days, and I have been under the weather. So if I look tired and exhausted, it's because I'm tired and exhausted. Do I look lonely and sad? Because I was lonely and sad as well. But now I'm here with you today, so I feel a whole lot better. Welcome in. My name is Jason Adams. I'm a silversmith, a jewelry historian, I guess a comedian at times. Sarcasm does get the best of me from time to time, but I really want to welcome you all in, and thank you so much for the love and affection. If you wouldn't mind, to the new subscribers, could you please share me out to just one other person or a group of people that you know that would like to subscribe to my channel so I can get my content out to a wider audience. As you can see over here, I do collect a lot of vintage glassware. These are all L.A. Smith bittersweet vases. If you want me to do a video on those, I most certainly will. And the art behind me. Also, I'm a silversmith, and you might ask yourself, what is this plant on your desk? What is this? Look at that. So that is a sterling silver flower that I constructed for, it was for a benefit back in the day, and it's completely hand wrought out of sterling silver, made to look like a real plant, and I put it in this incredible vintage art glass vase, because I love to use old things in my work as well. I made all the little tendrils to hold this in, completely constructed out of sterling silver, and then there's those pods as well. So there's sterling silver pods that I hand created, and that flower here has a lucite center with rhinestones, and that is a flower that I created. There's 715 parts on this sterling silver flower, and then the pods continue to go up with those kind of naturalistic tendrils. And these are completely fabricated out of sterling silver sheet, wire, tubing. They're all completely hand constructed. There is nothing cast in my work. So that's a labor of love. And I would really, really, really love to bring that back to a very video very soon is what I should say, as I struggle over the simplest of words. And you know I don't edit my videos, and I thank you for bearing with me. What we're here for today is to talk about some of my favorite sterling silver rings that I have purchased over the last 30 some years. And I have been very much so addicted to sterling silver because it's what I chose to wear at the time when I first started buying, and I really loved the craft and the energy that went into those pieces that were created. I loved seeing the artist's hand. I was also fixated on gemstones. I was in love with certain stones. I really enjoyed turquoise because I loved the color. I really loved fire agate. I loved opal. I did love onyx. I didn't really stick with one stone that I can specifically talk about, but in my trays, I started to sort some of the pieces that I've shown you before. So stay tuned. I'm going to go camera down. I'll show you this case, and then I hope we'll get into the next case. But these are just some of my a few of my favorite sterling rings. So many more videos coming. I, again, appreciate the love. And in just a few days, I'm going to be 51 years old. And I feel it today. So thank you so much. And if you hear traffic in the background, it's because I'm on a very busy street. And there's traffic always racing up and down my street. So if there's slight noise issue, that's why. You'll understand that. It's the luxury of living in a city. What can I say? Thanks again for joining in. Wait one sec. I'll go camera down. And I love you so much. Thank you for joining in. I honestly can't tell if this is a good angle or not. I sure hope it is, because I just don't have the time to re-record this video. Here is the sterling silver flower again, so that you can see how complex the construction is. I think that flower took me, start to finish, I think that took me, just on the single blossom, I think this took me 2 weeks, start to finish. I think it was 2 weeks to make all the filaments by hand, and then to weave them all together on the inside, and then to construct this flower, and then to do the leaves, and then to make the stem, and then the second plant with the pods, that only took maybe 2 days on that one, with all the little tendrils. But I liked the naturalistic form of that. I wish I could get the whole piece in, because it is very much so in a Japanese style a flower arranging, very asymmetrical. So I would like to bring on some of my sterling silver flowers to show you the construction. You know, what I've noticed about YouTube videos is they don't necessarily like silversmithing videos, and I'm not sure exactly why. That's not going to stop me from producing them. So I never cared about, you know, being popular, but I most certainly care about creating great content and inviting you into my collections and in my world. A few of these, and I'm not going to talk much about turquoise mines today, but what I am going to talk about is why I chose some of the pieces that I did and how I was emotionally attached to them. Sterling silver construction on most of these. This one is from the late 1940s into the 1950s. And I believe this to be more 40s than 50s based on construction and craft. These turquoise stones are just incredible. I guess I could take off my rings of choice today and lay them over here so that maybe I can try on, oh, that's one of the rings that I've made. You've seen that before, moonstone and sterling silver. But I used to wear these a lot, and it makes sense on my hand. I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable. I wanted to make sure that they were wearable, but I also wanted to have an investment for the future. On such a ring like this today, because of the quality, this is now in the $500 to $600 range, and it could go up from there based on the construction and also the quality of those turquoise stones. Very incredible craft and very important in its construction. Really, really beautifully created with that split shank. I don't know how else to say it, but I always based my choices on design and craft more than a name or a signature. We'll get into a lot of the different makers of Native American jewelry, and I don't know how, but I got so stuck on sterling silver and turquoise today. That was a recent buy at Don Scott Antique Show, and it just really resonated with me. I loved that kind of bold inlay and that very deco style. Very angular, almost heavy-handed, but still so refined. And those stones being not stabilized and not treated. Signed SB on the inside. And there was a little bit of a discrepancy between the seller and I, because he had attributed it to a female silversmith, and I did tell him, I said, I think you're incorrect, but I didn't want to fight with him, so I just bought the ring, got it over with, and I'm still doing some additional research. This has always been a favorite that I've reached for because very powerful. I like the north-south direction of this. I love the three stones in the center, spaced with those little flower blossoms, and then those raindrops. Of course, drilled beads that are inlaid on the outside. Very unusual technique. I would say that this is more 1960s, 1970s. Value on that one, I would say today, because the size, that's between $350 and maybe $400 on the retail level. That is if you go out west and you go to one of the big, galleries out west. And most certainly, living in Ohio, I've had the luxury of buying some of these pieces and putting I don't know what to say, putting them back and having them as an investment. This one is solid sterling silver. And there was just something about the construction of those leaves and tendrils and raindrops. I did like the attention to the border as well. Very clearly Native American. I like my pieces to look a certain way. Like, I don't know what else to say about the construction of the items besides the fact that I just went for beautiful and well created. This is formed to the finger as well. Extremely comfortable. Sometimes when jewelry gets that large, it gets cumbersome. It gets uncomfortable. I always wanted great wearability with my items. And I wanted them to be comfortable. This is like formed to the finger, so it's kind of swooped in and it's contoured to the hand. So beautifully constructed. I suggest when you're picking something, and if you are investing in something you're going to keep for a long time, please buy something that is comfortable. Please try it on and ask the vendor, do you mind if I leave this on for a few minutes and, see how it feels? Absorb its energy. Absorb the previous owner or the maker's energy. And I comment on a lot of my vintage items because they do come with a certain energy or a certain vibe, a certain flow of the previous owner. And this one's been with me the longest of my collection. This is in the first video I ever did on YouTube, which is now just over a year ago. And I talked about this in my first video. So if you want to go back to that, times have changed with my channel, but the fancy show and tell is where I started my journey, and I will always go back to that like today. So just showing and telling of items that I chose in my collection and why. A completely hand-constructed bezel as well, and look at the modeling of that turquoise stone. Almost looks like a tree in a landscape with a figure seated next to it with this path or horizon line. There's always been something so magical about the stones, as well as the metal and the artists that put their energy into creating something so beautiful. This one I got very lucky years ago, and I've always wanted a very large 1920s, 1930s silver ring. With a large turquoise that was untreated, and this was possibly one of the best I had seen. And to this day, I have seen other ones that are parallel, but this one, there's something about the modeling of the stone, the color of that turquoise, and also the simplicity of that 4 split shank with the tooling, the way that is, and you can see how thinned down that is. That's been worn and enjoyed a long time. And the vibe and the energy on that, for such a large span, you would expect that stone to be cracked. You would expect it to be worn, and we accept that with a lot of turquoise. We think it absorbs negative energy, and that's where cracks can come from. So, but the modeling of the stone, that has to be one of my favorites. And there are certain pieces, because people have asked me more currently in my videos, explain why you sell some things and why you keep some things. Well, these are all personal favorites, so these are keeps. So rather than tell people, I often like to show them on my videos. I don't like a lecture series. I don't like speaking at all of you. But I like to give you as much information as I possibly can. The construction of this one was just genius. To be able to construct such a large system of bands on the back, a very accomplished hand. Signed here, I was unable to locate the signature online, but I did a very basic search. I always say, makers don't drive what I buy. Who's made it doesn't make me want it. I don't go by name. I go by end result, and I go by the process. If I see a process of beauty like this, and then an end result that is fantastic, I want to own that. I want to seek it out. I also wanted some of the best examples of stones. I wanted some of the best examples of silversmithing. So this is a hand-constructed bezel. See how that's all uneven? That artist went in and stamped that bezel. Such attention to detail. And as a silversmith, and now being a silversmith for over, let's see, I've been a silversmith for 27 years. It's hard to believe. But I've been a silversmith and possibly now 28 or 29 years because I started early. But this is a sterling silver snake that's been riveted and applied to that turquoise stone. So this process was setting the stone, drilling it out, putting 2 posts down in, and then adhering that snake to the surface after the stone was set to make that a sinuous and beautiful surface. So that snake didn't really stick up too high, but was slightly elevated to give it that naturalistic kind of curled and movement of a natural snake. That to me spoke volumes, and I got to see one like it. I really, that one made, it really yelled at me. This one needs polished. And I will show you why not to put your turquoise in liquid cleaners. Do not use a liquid cleaner on turquoise. Someone must have used either Tarnex or some sort of liquid cleaner, and look, it completely dried that stone out. So incredibly sad to see such a beautiful vintage creation not cared for and not thought of. Please, I beg you, do not use liquid cleaner on your turquoise. Do not use it on pearls. Do not use it on opals. Do not use it on soft stones in general. Faceted gemstones, you can use it mostly on faceted gemstones, not all. So please be careful and mindful before start using, liquid cleaners. But that has completely eaten that stone surface down because it went into the pores and chemically altered that stone. I will be able to breathe new life into this, and I want to bring this back to another video. This is a ring that I am going to sell, but I need to fix it before I sell it. I need to get it back to its original, and I will fight to keep our history alive, as I've said before. This ring has been with me for over 24 years. I bought this at I think it was the old Aurora Farms flea market near Cleveland, and that's been gone for so long. But Aurora Farms was very good to me. I had a tendency to be able to find some really beautiful things. I have yet to be able to find the mine on this stone. It does have a very odd colored matrix. It is turquoise. But I've yet to be able to locate the mine on this, and I've showed a lot of turquoise experts, and they have said, we are stumped. We just don't know. The leaves and the way the flowers are constructed, I just had to have this ring as soon as I saw it. And it is signed down in there. There is the artist signature, completely hand constructed. This one, I'm guessing, is from the later 1950s or maybe into the 1960s. 1950s, 1960s. I always do a kind of a circa dating so that there is no fighting. I don't need a lecture series, trust me. If I don't do it to anyone else, I don't want to hear it. So on this one, this is Dr. Amori stone, and I stuck this in because a lot of people think that this is turquoise, or they will confuse this for Larimar. That is actually Dr. Amori stone, which is Victoria stone. I've covered it before in my videos, and I'm going to do a full-length video feed on Victoria stone. This has such a beautiful light and a push and pull of that surface. Completely man-made stone. Completely man-made. And when Dr. Amori passed, the recipe for the stone did unfortunately go with him, so no one knows how to reconstruct this, but an absolute beautiful mounting as well. Very reminiscent of Native American. 3 more rings and then we'll get into this box. I don't think we're going to make it through the whole thing, so we'll have to do a 2 continued, obviously. This is platinum and rose gold, and why I show you this is I bought this for sterling silver and copper, and this is actually platinum and rose gold. So I say to you, please take the chance when you see things that may not be what they're being sold as. This ring is sterling silver and copper, would be about $15 to $20. Platinum and rose gold this heavy with this much metal, intrinsically at least a bare minimum of $300 to $400 just in metal. And then to create this kind of love knot design, that would at least run you, if you went to a commercial jewelry store and asked to create this today, you'd be spending at least $600 to $800, if not $1,000 to $1,500, depending on where you live in the United States. Absolutely gorgeous, and I show you that. Please go slow. Do not leave any stone unturned, and look at solder seams. Look at the way things are constructed. And if you felt this in your hand, this is extremely, extremely heavy. If it was sterling and copper, it would be very light, or much lighter than it is in rose gold and platinum. It's extremely dense, it's very heavy, and it's very soft. It's got this smooth finish to it, and that gray of the platinum, it doesn't read as sterling silver. I always tell people, platinum looks like platinum. Once you're exposed to it, you won't forget the surface. You won't forget the color, and you won't forget the weight. So touch these things. Go to shows. Ask antique dealers. Go to pawn shops. Talk with people. I was educated by some of the most brilliant people in the business, and they were so kind to me and took such great care with me. That's the way I got my education, was hard knocks, was out in the real world. I didn't have the luxury of Google and AI. I didn't have the luxury of Google Lens, which is garbage, by the way. I've already said I would challenge AI to a duo, an intelligence or identification duo any day of the week, and I would always win. It's not arrogant, it's stating a fact. I would always beat AI. I always will beat AI. It doesn't have that emotional connection to materials. It can't feel. It can't read. It can't get the energy. It can't, so many things. It's just so limited. It's a robot. Yet so many people are depending on it. And it's supposed to be becoming smarter. I don't think so. I'll do future videos on that, but I would challenge AI to a friendly competition of identification. The other day, I took a image just to see what it would do. I took an image of the inside of a bracelet, a signature, and the Google Lens feedback that it gave me was hilarious. It was side-splitting. It was the most incorrect thing you could ever imagine. Will it get better? Sure. Will it ever be, perfect? No. I'm not perfect, but most certainly I can see and feel the craft. I can see and feel the materials. If you were to Google Lens that, it's probably going to say Sleeping Beauty, or it's going to say Kingman. Why every single time does a turquoise have to be Kingman or Sleeping Beauty? Every single time, No, not every single time, Could possibly be in that stone. This is coral and sterling silver and wonderful, wonderful creation of this mounting. And I can't believe I just went off so bad, but it happens. It's transparency on my channel, and it's me being truthful, not only with my information, but my collections that I've labored over, and how I've done what I've done over, the last 30 years of my life. I said the other day, it's always like I in my videos, but I don't know anything different because it's the way I've constructed my collections. I've never trusted anyone else to tell me what to buy or to tell me how to evaluate my things. And I've always kind of let it settle in and feel right. That's all. It's been more on feeling than anything. It's been more on vibe and feel. And I'm proud to say it that way because it's totally truthful. This is sterling silver, one of the most beautiful inlays, and I do love how imperfect the inlay is. Sterling silver, bold mounting, and I love the graphic nature of this. I just thought it was extremely well created, and I hope showing you the inside finish, showing you the profile of the pieces, kind of gives you a greater visual information, so when you go out and you start looking, or if you are reignited by my videos, a lot of people have said that I've inspired them to get back into collecting, and I've inspired them to get back out into looking. Trust me, these things are out there. You need to find them, and sometimes they need to find you. There's two different ways to approach it, and I've often said that both are correct. I have sought pieces out, and then I've let pieces find me. So we'll skip over this one for now because I think I covered the vast majority. I probably didn't give enough information on values, and I think this one goes here, and I think this one goes here. I don't know. I think the vibe on the tray is off now. All right, so we'll close that up, and again, thank you so much for joining in. We will get into this one just briefly. I guess I could leave this here, and then maybe I could bring, let's move my flower down. Let's put that here. No, let's get that out of the way of the camera. Hold on, let me lay this. I don't want it to fall over. Let me put it behind me. There we go. Now I feel better about that. And then if you would, I just looked at my L.A. Smith Bittersweet vases. If you'd like me to do a video on my vases, I most certainly would. This container I hadn't seen for, this I hadn't touched for over 4.5, about 4.5 years I hadn't touched the vast majority. We're not going to get through all of them, but what we are going to get through is, again, just some of my favorites based on design and construction. When we talk about, let me make sure these are in focus. When we talk about brutalism and modernism, this is a very close marriage of both, a transitional piece. It's very modernist in its sculptural quality, but it's got that raw and rough finish and raw and rough edge of brutalism. So I think it's both. I think you can say that this is clearly a transitional piece. And when I talk about transitional in jewelry, that's to avoid fighting with people and saying, stop fighting about it and saying, this is this and this is that. It's not okay. This is transitional between both brutalism and modernism with a large tiger eye. I'm not a fan of tiger eye. It's just not personally for me. Let me take these off again because I want to try this on. I haven't seen this one. Oh, it still fits. I haven't seen this one for a long time. And see how comfortable that was for me? I slipped it on, hasn't been on for a long time, still fits, and the contour of it is very smooth. And a lot of times rings are uncomfortable on the sides, and this one is so comfortable. It feels like fabric. It just feels right. It's got a certain power to it. And again, you got to think about the artist that was so lovingly creating these. And that's why I want to do more studio time. And some of those videos on YouTube are just not very well viewed and not appreciated. But it's not going to stop me. I'm going to show you how I create. And I'm going to show you that I have the courage to create this year. 2025 is going to be a magnificent year. I already know it. I just feel it. I just have such a positive shake about it, and I'm so excited about things that are to come. Unfortunately, this one was always tight on my pinky, and I never wore it because it was just too long. So sometimes when I go through these, people will ask in my videos, is that for sale? And I'll either say yes or no, and that is a yes or a no. And it's normally really, kind of a staunch yes or no. This one will eventually be for sale. It is, let's see, I thought it was artist signed on the inside. I'll have to look closer, but look at the shank system on this. And look at the modeling of that stone. The matrix is like that fine netting. And I loved that kind of countersunk border that let that bezel be raised. Almost reminiscent of like the shadow box design without the top panel being obtrusive and covering most of that. But look at the split shank system on that. That is a serious silversmith saying, I want a bold and directional ring that's large and in charge but comfortable to wear. I would say vintage on that one. That's going to be tough to tell. I'm going to say anywhere between the late 60s. Yeah, the late 60s and into the 70s. Oh, it is signed. It looks like it's hand script signed ETA, but I can't read it for sure. So it's script signed down in there. You have to remember, it's buying these based on design. I was looking at my fellow silversmiths that had lived before me, and, look at this one for an inlay. Zuni inlay, mother of pearl, black onyx, turquoise red coral, and kind of that yellow mother of pearl. Look at that for directional. And I have a little story about this. When I was like 10 years old, I went into an old trade post in Euclid, Ohio, and I don't know why we went in there, but we went in there one time probably to see what it was all about. And there was a restaurant, like a Western themed restaurant next door to it. And we went in there and I saw a ring like this in the case, and I had asked to see it as a child, and the lady was very nice, but it was like $185 back then, and that was, I think that was in the 80s. And I really loved that ring. Even that young, I was fascinated by it. And then I found this one maybe when I was 20 years old. So I've had it for 30 years. And I fell in love with this. And I had to have it. And I'm so glad that I bought it when I did, because the way it's constructed and the craft on it was just so superb and so beautiful. And I love the weight of the silver. I love the craftsmanship on this. I've always been a fan of such things. And then this one, turquoise, I'm not sure on the mine, because we have to remember that turquoise does oxidize. So, and then another thing is, it's very difficult for someone to watch a video back and make a comment on a turquoise mine, because how do you know? Your monitor and your, that your phone isn't going to show you, the accurate color. And after all, we're in a ring light situation. There's some daylight. There's a mixture of light. In daylight, I always say, I like to judge the color of my turquoise in daylight. But that's the way I've done it. And when I cataloged things for the auction companies, we did have some specialty auctions that dealt with Native American jewelry. And frequently, they would ask me my opinion on different stones. If I didn't know, I would simply say, I'm not sure. I would attribute it to this mine, but I'm not 100% sure because after all, the oxidation on the stones, the wear patterns, the matrices, and of course, if you think about this, if a mine starts on one property and goes to another property and that vein continues to go through, you might call this, Cripple Creek, you might call this Royston, you might call this, Cerrillos, you might call this, who knows, number 8. So, as that, that it's just, it's very complex. That's what I will say. But on this specific stone, I chose this ring for its energy. I chose this ring for its vibe and wearability. And I loved its simple and direct border. What a beautiful frame. It lets the stone speak. It lets the stone sing. Sometimes when you get into rings, I'm a very tough judge. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes I wish I could kind of shrug off that trained artist part of me, but I just can't. A very simple onyx and sterling silver ring. I believe that this was a gift to me, and I kept it because I did want one onyx and sterling silver ring in my collection, and that might surprise most people and say, we are shocked that you would have that in your collection. I surprise people all day long. I always have, and I always will. So stay tuned. Don't unsubscribe because I want to continue to surprise you in some of the best ways possible. But there was something about the simplicity. I liked the border. I liked the tightness. I liked the compact nature. Let's see, it is signed down in here. That is signed there, down in there. It's stamped down on the inside. For anyone who wants to see the hallmarks and also my dirty hands. There was a sale, apparently. Apparently there was a sale of something. I don't know what I sold out of here, but I did, so I just stuffed the money in there. That's been in there for 4.5 years. It'll eventually be vintage, and maybe I can take that to a coin show and sell it for vintage money. Turquoise and red coral and leaves and raindrops. I've always considered those leaves, and some people say those are feathers, but to me those show up as fern leaves or some sort of palm-shaped leaf. Very naturalistic. Turquoise, bezel set. I liked the 3 stone versus the 1 stone. I think if there were like 2 coral and 2 turquoise, I may not have bought it. I may have left it and not bought it. And that's all original. That's the thought of the artist of, we'll put that there because we want that arc of blue and that dot of red amongst that kind of foliate and raindrop border on the inside. Completely hand constructed, really beautifully made. And see how like one that I made works with one that was vintage. I wouldn't wear them together, but see how there's a story there. And I might wear them together like on separate hands. Like I'll wear that one there and that one there. So as I smash this down. So this one, this could be Snowville Veracite. And I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna say it. But it could be Snowville Veracite. And oh, interesting. So if I Google lens this is going to come back as probably Lander Blue. It's going to come back as Lander Blue Turquoise. And Lander Blue is something that I will eventually discuss in great depth and great detail. Haven't gotten there yet, but most certainly I'm going to. And I do have an expert in Lander Blue who said that they would come on my channel and do an interview with me on turquoise in general. But look at the stone. So you would think that modeling and that highly figured kind of cobweb, netting and the little dots, the little stipples of color would instantly on Google read as Lander Blue. And it's crazy because I'm going to do a search and I guarantee you it's going to come back as Lander Blue. Take a screenshot of that and see if it comes back as Lander Blue. It probably will, and if it does, it's going to say it's like a $2,000 ring. I think that's Snowville Veracite, and that's a very unusual Veracite. And I'm pretty sure, is it possible that it's still a turquoise? It's most certainly possible. It's definitely American turquoise. Someone would say that's Chinese turquoise. It's absolutely not. Absolutely 100% not Chinese turquoise. There's no way. It's physically impossible. unless there was like some sort of time travel machine and went across, across the world. But that's sterling silver hand fabricated, and I truly still believe, as I look at that, yeah, it could still be a turquoise, but I still go with possible variscite on that one. Really beautifully constructed, absolutely gorgeous. I did have a turquoise that was very similar to this, but it didn't have the same modeling. It didn't have the same construction. And if that is a turquoise, it's probably very much so copper bearing because of that greenish overcast to it. But no, I don't know. Still go Snowville Varisite. I just do. That's where my brain goes. I can't help it. So, but like I said, if you don't have it in your hands, it's impossible to tell. So, you know what they say about opinions? Everyone has one. This is amethyst cabochon, sterling silver, and again, brutalist and modernist at the same time. This band is very modernist construction with sterling silver. And then this top portion with that raw nugget of cast silver, that's definitely very brutalist. Very brutalism. Very much so brutalism. And look at that gem grade amethyst cabochon. Such velvety purple. Really super cool. Hand constructed. And that's a winner. Because again, totally comfortable. Totally comfortable. Very soft. Very wearable. I mean, you know you have it on, but boy, is that super cool. And I would wear it this way. I would wear it that way. I would wear it this up towards me and that facing the viewer. I've always been very finicky with my direction of how I wear my rings. That's just me. I don't know why. We'll stop on this one, and then we'll get into all these 3 rows. We'll go with the next video, or, I don't do this in chronological order. I just don't do it. Look at that turquoise. I know that that's extremely important. I'm not going to comment on the mine for so many reasons. I think I just drew a blank on brown matrix. Limonite? Limonite, 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 I believe, is what contributes to the brown matrix in turquoise frequently, anyway. Frequently. Not a gemologist, just sharing some basic information that I believe it's limonite. And I don't know if very many people make a comment on that on YouTube, but I believe that that's what it is. And I just pulled that out of nowhere. So I sure hope it's right. So look at the construction of sterling silver, the leaves, the border, the craft, the skill, and that raw, beautiful stone. And look how that artist was so courageous to use a stone that was like, quote, imperfect because of so much matrix. But look at how incredible it separates itself from the rest of the pack. It really does. I love this so much. So I will make some future videos, I think, on this specific ring. I think there's enough information there on both tribe, possible artist, and also the mine that turquoise comes from. So I think we have enough information. And look at the size of it. If it was smaller, I would say, wow, but yeah, look at that stone. That just gets me going. See, I ended on a good note. Now I'm all smiles. Now I can go forward with the rest of my day. So I always tell people, if you have like a bad moment in the morning, don't take it out on everybody else. Just dive into some jewelry, get rejuvenated, reset yourself with the energy from old things, and then you'll feel filled with love and light, and you'll be ready to go. Don't just lay in bed and be miserable. Get up and make a difference in your life, and do that for other people as well. We'll get into these and just like a quick looky-loo. Oh no. And then this one. We're going to get into that one later. I shouldn't show you anymore, but I can show you this one because this was a personal favorite for a long time. A fire agate set in sterling silver. I have a very, very, very extensive collection of fire agates that are set in vintage jewelry. Lot of rings, a few bracelets, a few incredible necklaces. A pendant by Dennett Dale that is incredible. A matching pair of earrings by Dennett Dale. Not to name drop because I don't do that on my channel, but but I just did apparently. But I'll be bringing those on in a future video as well, because I do need to get back to my dedicated videos on stones. If you haven't seen my other videos on stones, please go over and take a look at them. I did a good, better, and best on amethyst. I did one devoted to blue zircon. I have a lot more coming on other stones. I have to do one on moonstone. I have to do the one on opal. I have to do the one on fire agate out of my collection. I have some fire agates that are unset that I was offered crazy amounts of money for, and I wouldn't dream of selling them because you just can't get the quality anymore. So please stay tuned to my future videos. I hope this kind of brings you back. Another fire agate. I can't stop. I can't stop. All right, I need to call it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking. The new viewers, please, like I said, continue to watch. Give me a chance. And also, please share me out with anyone that you think would enjoy the content of my channel. I ask you to go forth with peace and kindness. Thank you so much for joining. Mwah. I love you because I do.